Hey, Dana, can I get 20 bucks?
What's that?
Can I get 20 bucks?
What's that?
Hey, Dana, John Jones is the GOAT. Today, I will be doing what I consider to be potentially my biggest video, because I want to fully, just systematically break down the greed of the UFC right now. Because and not just right now, but it's been going on for many years. But the greed of the UFC in the past couple of years has really cost them fighters, pay-per-view sales, we'll get to that. Just so many just great things the company is missing out on because it's greedy.
I use cocaine.
And I want to preface this by saying I'm not one of these Luke Thomas, MMA Joey, like homo, the UFC bad, UFC bad. No, I'm not super pro UFC either. I think like I've called them out a lot recently, but I'm also not I'm not on their dick all the time like those guys. But with that being said, make sure you guys like and sub. We're just going to get right into it.
Brother.
So the first problem really with the UFC's greed is their cheap decision making, which obviously they're trying to save money. And everyone wants to save money. But the UFC is a $1 billion company and they make the most cheapest decisions I've ever seen. I mean, if you see here, according to MMA On Point, the UFC Apex is the most used event since 2020 with 111 Apex events.
Brother.
Is that not crazy to anybody else? They've only went to England 5 times since 2020. They've went to the T-Mobile Arena obviously 17 times for numerous pay-per-views, but 111 different Apex events since 2020 makes me want to put a gun up my ass. This is insane. And it's looking like it's not going to stop. This is Mark Shapiro, the TKO president. Well, if you don't know, TKO is the owners of the UFC and of WWE. It says, when you're watching on TV, you can't tell if you're in a stadium or an arena or just at the small but mighty Apex we have in Vegas. Oh my God, bro, this is what I realized, this is not even just a Dana White problem, it's a broader issue. He's literally publicly saying here, yeah, well, you can't tell the difference between the Apex and the fucking O2 Arena in London, England. Is anyone, oh my God, bro. Do you see why I'm doing this video? Mark Shapiro, right, which, let's look at his backstory. No, we're not going to do that. I want to stay on YouTube. Seriously, Mark Shapiro is... Who is this guy? Who even is this guy? Has he ever seen a fucking Shane Burgos fight? Has he ever seen Edson Barboza fight? Does this guy even know the sport for him to be saying bullshit like this? I mean, guys, they literally just announced UFC Vegas main event. Aaron Blanchfield will take on Macy Barber in the fucking Apex.
What's wrong with you, bro? What the hell? You tripping, bro? You tripping?
How do I not kill myself? How? How am I supposed to even not kill myself? And that's the thing. I mean, how much do you guys think Aaron Blanchfield is being paid? Or Macy Barber? What are their contracts looking like? And we'll get to fighter pay later, but we used to get Dillashaw and Garbrandt main eventing fight nights. Even a couple years ago, we'd have Holloway main event fight nights. Now we're getting this. This is the main event of a fight night in the Apex because it's cheap. It allows them to get away with it. They know that if they put this in an arena, it wouldn't sell for shit. But no, the $1 billion company is so concerned with money that they're throwing Apex events like it's nothing. I mean, there's a card coming up that we can look at right now. Lerone Murphy and fucking Josh Emmett is the main event of a fight night. That wouldn't even be the co-main event of a fight night back in the day. Now it's the main event. Who are these guys on the undercard? Right? Look, who are these guys? Martin Bidet and fucking... Oh, I mean, you got the GOAT GM3, fine. But come on, man. There's a couple... I mean, Torres Finney is on here, too. Okay, maybe this isn't the best example.
Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
But seriously, though, the greed is genuinely costing us good fight nights. It's costing us... Why are we still in the Apex? Dana literally said last year, oh, we're done with the Apex. We're getting out of the Apex, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this for a long time. But we got to get out of the Apex and start doing more events in all these different cities.
And since he said that, we've had double the Apex event. It's again, I get it. They're trying to save money, but they're a $1 billion company. Billions of dollars they make, right? Or they've made over the course of a couple of years. And don't even get me started on the fact that they don't market shit. I've spoken about this in previous videos. Their marketing is just abysmal. Abysmal. I mean, look at Alex Pereira. Biggest star in the UFC right now, knocking out everybody. He's of any fighter I've seen in modern combat sports, he feels like the modern day Mike Tyson. But would you guys know it? No. Because Dana White, he'll go on fucking Shannon Sharp and he'll go on ESPN, and instead of promoting guys like Alex Pereira, Ilia Topuria, Islam Makhachev, guess who he promotes? You guys know the name.
I'm up John Jones' ass.
John Jones is the scariest, most badass fighter of all time. Stop riding Jones. Shut the fuck up. Look at the stats, read them. John Jones beats the fuck out of people. No matter what you think of John Jones, he's the fucking best ever, and he's the pound for pound best fighter in the world. And he's the pound for pound best fighter in the world. Yeah.
I mean, it blows my mind, the marketing of this company. We used to get cool promo packages like the McGregor Aldo one. Remember that? That was sick. With the Church in the Wild song playing, and they walked up to each other, and there was like, you had like a bunch of, bro, it was sick. We'll never get anything like that. The way that the UFC is going, the most we get is what? One press conference, a Nina drama interview, and a press conference, and that's the best promotion we got, guys.
What's up, my?
Yeah, Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. We're not gonna, we could do like a press conference in Spain, maybe one in Russia. Maybe we could do face to face. They speak English. Like, it's not even like, oh, one speaks. They both speak English. You could do a face to face. It's not gonna cost anything. Like, just get DC in a room and get Topuria and Makhachev in a room. But no, because we'll just do one press conference. We'll do a Nina drama interview, and that's it. I mean, for Christ's sakes, Volkanovski is coming back in like 2 weeks at the time of this recording. Would you guys know it? Absolutely not. The marketing of the UFC is plummeted. It's absolutely plummeted. And then they cry because there was a recent report that came out that their pay-per-view sales are terrible. Like, they're actually dog shit now. Duh. Of course they're terrible. What did they think? That just putting minimal effort? Can you imagine, guys, if I just did like 3-minute videos on my channel and then I was stuck at 1 subscriber and I was like, why do I only have 1 subscriber? Like, imagine if I put minimal effort into something and then expected more. The UFC, that's what they do. They put minimal effort into the marketing of the company, into marketing their stars, and now they're crying about, they're blaming ESPN for the pay-per-views and stuff. It's your own fault. You're a billion-dollar company and you don't even market it as such.
You're tanking. You can't sell pay-per-views.
But that's pretty much my first point. I just think the UFC being so freaking cheap when it comes to stuff like marketing, still doing Apex events, and then not just doing Apex events, the main event of these events are majorly terrible. Like, yeah, you'll get some good ones like Cannonier and Gregory Rodriguez, but Josh Emmett, Lerone Murphy, really, as a main event of that's a co-main event, really. The main event should be top-ranked guys or something, right? But no, that's the only time we could get good fight nights is in fucking Saudi Arabia, guys, seemingly. But now I kind of want to talk about the way that they miss out on so many great fighters because of the fighter pay just being so ridiculous. And I've spoken about fighter pay. Look, do I think fighters should be paid $1 million? Do I think Chris Duncan and Jordan Vucenic should be paid $1 million? No. Do I think they should even be paid $100K? No. No offense. No offense, but no. But these top fighters should be paid more, because then if you don't pay them more, you get things like Conor McGregor going to face Floyd Mayweather, which they allowed, and they'll never allow again because he made like 5 times as much as he did in the UFC, and now he's never going to come back because why should he?
See what happens when you cross me, bro? You come across me.
He made more in that one fight against Floyd than he probably has in every fight combined prior to that fight. And even after that fight, I mean, the McGregor Nurmagomedov fight made what, 2.4? He wasn't paid nearly as much as he should have been. I mean, 2.4 million pay-per-view buys is one of the all-time best pay-per-view buys for combat sports, period. And even if you want to look at guys like Nate Diaz, he was on the last fight of his deal. He won. He left. To what? Just to box Jake Paul and Jorge Masvidal, who we'll get to in a second. But it's just like you missed out on Nate Diaz. And I know Nate Diaz, like, he's past his prime. Who really gives a fuck? But at the end of the day, like, they could have kept Nate Diaz if they just paid him a little more and maybe allowed him to go box Jake Paul or something. Obviously, Jorge Masvidal is another guy. I mean, they lost out on him. He retired. He wanted more money. I mean, no MMA fighter really retires. Look at Robbie Lawler. You think he's really going to stay retired? But he eventually ventured off into boxing too. We lost out on Jose Aldo for a couple of years because he went to boxing as well. And he was pretty successful, to be fair. And he was probably making more money in those boxing fights than he did in the past couple of his UFC fights. And then, of course, Francis Ngannou. I mean, Francis Ngannou is a guy, he wanted to get paid more. Now, I know he wanted other stipulations, like he wanted to get paid more, and then I think he wanted something with like fighter pay. And that situation is kind of, it is kind of weird, but the UFC should have just fucking paid him, in my opinion. Because look at the state of the heavyweight division. It's dog shit. You have John Jones, who doesn't fight. Tom Aspinall, who can't fight because he's the interim freaking champion. Cyril Gane is dog shit. Volkov he's cool, but he's kind of boring. Pavlovich is boring now. Rosenstrike just got cut. Curtis Blades is dog shit. Shamil Gaziev is the GOAT. But, you know, you don't really have a lot of options. Tuivasa is shit. Like, do I have to keep going? Derek Lewis is shit. But the heavyweight division could have been all right had they just paid Francis Ngannou. Again, I know there were other stipulations there, but look, if they threw Francis Ngannou $20 million fucking dollars, I'm sure he wouldn't care about those other stipulations. Let's be honest.
Okay.
And those are just the legends. I mean, if you want to talk about newer fighters, I mean, Artem Vatikov recently spoke about the fact that, you know, he won the Contender Series straight up. He won the Dana White Contender Series. And obviously they offered him a contract, but they wanted to give him a standard contract. He's saying the UFC rules left no room for adjustment. I respect their structure, but I'm a prize fighter. I do not blame him for saying, go fuck yourself. I'm going back to glory then. He's probably getting paid more because he's about to fight, I believe, Rico Verhoeven, whatever. He's about to fight him at heavyweight in Glory Kickboxing. And he's probably getting paid 3 or 4 or 5 times more than he would on a 12-to-12 contract, which is what they probably offered him. Here's $12K to win, $12K to show up. What the like, especially with the state of the light heavyweight division, this is a guy that beat Alex Pereira. This is a guy that beat Alex Pereira before. It would have been sick to see this guy at light heavyweight. You know, light heavyweight could use a guy like this. Could use a bit of excitement. But no, because we're UFC, we can't offer you an extra 10K. You can't offer him another 10, 20K. Are you serious? And then he'd probably have to sit around because they'd probably be looking for a matchup. And then, oh, no, wait another 3 months. We're going to look for a matchup. He probably would want to be active as well. And they're going to be, bro, like he said here, he has a family to support. And the UFC can't even pay him what he's worth. Because I think he's worth a good amount of money. It's not like he's some insane star. But come on, bro. You guys couldn't offer him more than $12,000 and $12,000 if he won as well. Come, get the... Even Salahadin whatever the fuck this guy's name is, he apparently wanted to sign to the UFC. He's back in KSW now because they offered him 20 to 30 times less than he was making at KSW. They're missing out on these great young fighters. Look at Paul Hughes. He just had a great fight with Usman Nurmagomedov, a war back and forth, whatever you want to call it. He was supposed to go to the UFC, but they wanted him to do the freaking Contender Series first. So he went to the PFL. So they missed out on another good young fighter that just gave a Nurmagomedov a great fight. Cedric Doumbé, another great fighter, you know, that they missed out on to the PFL, which it's like, dude, the PFL is so dog shit, but they actually have some good fighters over there, which is kind of annoying. But they missed out on it on him to the PFL because, again, they probably said, hey kid, look, best we could do is 12K to win, 12K to lose, or whatever the fuck. Like, oh man, I just hate the way the UFC operates sometimes. Even Shane Burgos, right? He's a guy, and I believe he is a free agent now, which they'll probably miss out on him to fucking Cage Warriors or some shit. But Shane Burgos was a free agent, and they, instead of offering him more money, even though he's one of the most entertaining fighters out there right now at featherweight, no, they just let him go. And I know Dana admitted that, that was on me, bro. That was on me. I don't give a shit. You still let him go.
We're not perfect, but we don't fuck up often. We don't fuck up often, but we fucked that one up.
My point is, the UFC, they're just cheap. They're just cheap when it comes to actually paying these guys. Not necessarily what they're worth, but just paying them enough to where they don't feel like they're bro, how is it that Glory Kickboxing is going to pay Vatikov more than the UFC could? The UFC could pay him more, but why is Glory choosing to pay him more? It's annoying as fuck. You're missing out on really good fighters for what? And finally, I want to talk about these fucking pay-per-views. I mean, the prices of pay-per-views nowadays for the UFC is $80, which is why I hope the UFC goes into Netflix. So hopefully, all we have to do is just turn on Netflix and watch a pay-per-view. Hopefully. I doubt it, though. There's probably going to be like tiers or something. Let's be honest. But currently, the UFC pay-per-view price is $80 fucking dollars. For cards like this, DDP Strickland, a rematch a lot of people didn't want. A women's MMA co-main event. I don't care who's on it. I don't care if they're fighting butt-ass naked. I don't want to watch this. Well, yeah, I don't care if they're fighting... No, I don't care if they're fighting butt-ass naked. Justin Tafa was on the main card of a pay-per-view against an unranked Towson Teixeira. Rodolfo Bellato. Who the fuck is that? Who's Rodolfo Bellato? Who is that? He looks like a fucking inbred retard. Jake Matthews. This was the.
Boy, ain't no fucking way, boy.
And don't get me wrong, we get good cards, right? I mean, 313 was the main and co-main are good fights, great fights. Then you start going down. Jalen Turner, number 13 ranked, against Ignacio Bahamondes, not ranked. Again, it's a great fight on paper, but it's like a bottom-ranked guy and an unranked guy. A women's MMA fight between two lesbian-looking, two lady boys. A women's MMA fight was on this card. And then two unranked guys. Again, it's a good fight. Bobby Green. His name is not King Green. He's a fucking retard. Versus Mauricio Ruffy. A good fight. A great fight. But, like, this is the main card? Really? The only high-ranked fighters we got are in the main and co-main events? Like, do you see what I'm saying here? $80 for this shit. And again, the pay-per-view buys are way down according to the UFC, blah, blah, blah. Of course the pay-per-view buys are way down. Like, you want people to pay $80 in this economy where people are broke and can barely afford eggs and fucking beans. Well, if you're British, eggs and beans. If you're American or something, maybe it's burgers and hot dogs. But people can barely afford, to buy diapers for their babies, and you want them to pay $80 for an Amanda Lemos main card. Like, what are we doing here?
Brother.
But that's about it, guys. Overall, I'm absolutely sick of the UFC's greed. It's ruining the company. I'm genuinely concerned. Like, the UFC is in such a down period right now, and it's because of their own fault. It's no one else's fault. It's not the fans' fault. It's not, like, honestly, I wish the PFL was a competently ran promotion, because if it was, maybe the UFC would force themselves to be better. But yeah, overall, that's it. I don't think it comes down to one guy. I don't think it's a Dana White issue. Even though, yes, there's clips of Dana White giving the Nelk boys $250,000.
Holy fuck. Back to Tootsies? That's fun, bro. Back to Tootsies?
But he can't give a fighter an extra 10 bands. At the end of the day, the UFC is ran by other people. I'm going to get kicked off this platform. At the end of the day, the UFC is ran by certain people that Bryce Mitchell would not be a fan of. And that's really what it comes down to. So that's about it. Do you guys agree with me? Do you think the UFC is a greedy, money-hungry company? I believe it is, unfortunately. Again, I'm not one of these anti-UFC. I'm for the people. I'm not one of these homos like Luke Thomas. I'm sorry. I'm just being straight up. I call out the UFC when it's shit. I praise them when it's good. Right now, it's dog shit, and everybody would agree with me, to be honest with you. Most people, if you ask them, hey, if you ask a UFC fan if they think the UFC is good right now, they'll say, bro, I'm not feeling it. It's just the truth. It does not feel... There's no excitement, bro. There's just no excitement. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like and sub if you guys enjoyed it. Become a member in the description. See you guys. Peace.